Hey everybody, this is Mr. Bird. I hope you're doing well. Look forward to hopefully getting to see you sometime this week. My family and I, we've been on quarantine for the last little bit, so just out of abundance of caution, trying to keep everybody safe. And to help keep you guys learning and moving in the right direction, I've decided to video the lessons that you need. I know these aren't nearly as good as being in person, but hopefully it will help. What we're going to do today, before we get started, I'm going to point out something to you. You'll notice attached in Google Classroom, you're going to have all the worksheets for module number 2. That way you'll have a copy of it instead of me having to trying to load each one individually and then trying to depend on getting someone to copy them while I'm out and all those things. You'll have a digital copy, so you can click on those and look over those as you need for each lesson. For this particular lesson today, you'll want to write this down. You're going to need to look at handout 12B for boy, 12B, also 13A and 13B. So again, you need to look at handouts 12B for boy, 13A, and 13B. And again, those are going to be attached in a separate file. You'll see it on Google Classroom. That way you'll have a copy of it. If for some reason you're at home also, you can click on that file and see the worksheets that you need. Now, before we jump into this lesson also, I've looked ahead at the slides that go with it. There's going to be a couple of things that you'll see me skip over, and the reason I'm doing that is obviously I'm not there with you, and it would be kind of hard for us to do this or impossible for us to do these slides together without me being there to kind of help you go through them. So we'll pass through those. Right now, you should be working on your writing, your snapshot paragraph of a character that you've made up for Abandoned Elementary School. Again, if you don't remember that, go back and look at, I think it's a lesson number 12. You'll see that, and it'll help you kind of go through there and remember what a snapshot is. Let's see, I thought I had my phone with me. There it is. Snapshot. So think about a camera on your phone or a camera. If you take a snapshot of something, that means you're taking a picture of something that's taken place, and it's just a quick look at something. And so if I were to take a picture of the screen right now, you would see my computer. I just took a snapshot, a picture of it. So what we're trying to do is you're making up a character for your snapshot that Milo might run into if he were to go to Abandoned Elementary School. Remember, it's got to be a faculty member. It could be a student. It could be an employee like a janitor. Just think about Abandoned Elementary School, that name, and what would that character be like? We met the mayor of Abandon in a previous lesson, and if you'll remember, she did not seem to be able to stay focused on many things. So imagine if you went to a school named Abandoned Elementary School, what would that be like? What would you expect a teacher to be like, or a student to be like, or a faculty or staff member to be like that worked at Abandoned Elementary School? So you're just making up, having a little fun, write a fun little paragraph about that. It's going to be an easy assignment. Just pay attention to the writing tasks that I gave you in the last lesson, and we'll go through that a little bit later in this lesson too. So let's jump right in. This is Wit and Wisdom, Module 2, Lesson number 13. And again, this is one of the great things about this video is that you can pause it anytime that you need to and watch it at your own pace. Again, thank you all so much for your patience while I've been out. I hope that these videos have helped, and let's get right to it. Wit and Wisdom, Module 2, Lesson 13. All right, for our welcome screen, I'm going to go to the next one. And in your response journal, let's see if I can make an adjustment here. I don't think that I can. It says, at the end of chapter 5, faintly Macabre tells Milo that the only thing that can help her is the return of rhyme and reason. So I want you to think just a second, what do the words rhyme and reason mean? Now, like the phrase short shrift that I mentioned to you before, this phrase or the phrase rhyme and reason is an idiom. Now, what do you think it means to say that something has no rhyme or reason, or it's without rhyme or reason? So sometimes some strange thing may happen, and somebody will say, hey, I don't know, there's no rhyme or reason to it, it just happened. Okay, so keep that in mind as you think about that phrase, no rhyme or reason. All right, so what questions or predictions do you have about the story Faintly Macabre is about to tell about rhyme and reason? That's in the end of chapter 5. So if you haven't read chapter number 5, go ahead and pause the video, take a few minutes, read that, and then continue on to the next slide. Okay, so I've assumed that you have read chapter number 5, so let's jump right into our launch activity. And let me get my notes queued up here. So we're learning about the phrase, the idiom rhyme and reason. Okay, so I want to show you a couple things here. What would anyone like to share for their idea about rhyme or reason? So if you want to pause this just a second, I know you're going to be working with a partner on this lesson. Just explain to somebody next to you what you think rhyme and reason may mean. Okay, so here's our vocabulary. Rhyme and reason, rhyme or reason is an idiom. It means having or showing good sense, logic, or meaning. All right, so if something has rhyme and reason to it, that means that it's logical, it has good sense, there's a purpose behind it, there's a meaning to it. I know right now with all the COVID stuff, there's many people are saying, hey, there's no rhyme or reason to this. That means there's no logic, there's no good sense. We just can't figure it out. So but if you do have rhyme and reason, that means it does make sense. Okay? Now, the phrase rhyme or reason is typically used in the expression no rhyme or reason or without rhyme or reason. So today we get to hear Faintly Macabre's story of rhyme and reason. Now, as you might expect from Norton Juster, the author of The Phantom Tollbooth, rhyme and reason are characters from the lands beyond. Now, as we read, think about how the meaning of the phrase rhyme and reason is represented by those characters. Our content framing question, distill. It says, what is the essential meaning of Faintly Macabre's story, rhyme or reason? So why are they telling this story? Why is she telling this story about rhyme and reason? What's the purpose for it? All right, after we read Faintly Macabre's story or rhyme and reason, we'll reflect on the deeper meaning of the story and how it might fit into a larger story about Milo's journey to the land beyond. As we read today, I want you to consider some questions that can help you get to the heart of the story. Number one, I want you to think about what is the story of rhyme and reason really about? Why are we really learning this story? And what is the significance or the meaning of this story for Milo, for the witch, and for all the characters in the kingdom of wisdom? Why is the story of rhyme and reason so important to Milo, to the witch, and all the characters in the kingdom? So keep that in mind. Why is the story of rhyme and reason so important to each of these characters? All right, so let's look at our learn activity. Okay, let me pull this up here. What I want you to do is this partner work. Now this is where 13A is going to come in handy for you. So 13A, if you can do a split screen, you can have 13A pulled up on the side there. I think some of you know how to do a split screen, so if somebody can show you how to do that on your Chromebook, and have the video going at the same time. That'll be fine. Now 13A, it says oral story map. Now instead of completing a written story map to organize the key elements of Faintly Macabre's story, you will complete an oral story map, meaning that you will orally summarize the story of Rhyme and Reason using the elements of the story map to help guide your summaries. So what this means is you're going to read the story, and then with a partner using 13A as your guide, just summarize for me who the characters are, what the setting is, and let me make sure there's nothing else here I'm missing. So you're going to talk about the setting, you're going to answer those questions there, and just walk through 13A with your partner, just kind of summarizing the story that you've read at this point. Okay, so we can pause the video here if you want to, work with your partner, and see if you can summarize what's happening here. You don't need to write anything down unless you want to. I'm not going to take it up for a grade. All these things, excuse me, that we are doing are going to come in handy as we write a little bit more later. So you want to keep your text handy and refer back to chapter number 6 as needed to help you orally summarize the story. Now remember that Milo often gains little nuggets of wisdom from his experience with the different characters in the Kingdom of Wisdom. Now, we'll think about those nuggets, or what that nugget of wisdom, all the characters, now we will think about what nuggets of wisdom all the characters and they as readers, you as readers can take away from the story of Rhyme and Reason by participating in a chalk talk. Now, next few slides is talking about a chalk talk. Since I'm not there to help facilitate that, I'm going to bypass those just a second here. But I do want you to think about, what is the story of Rhyme and Reason really about? And what is the significance or meaning of the story? In other words, why might it be important in thinking about the larger story? What wisdom or learning can the characters and us as readers take away from the story about Rhyme or Reason? Okay, I'm going to skip this slide here. We'll bypass chalk talk. Okay, now I want you to go back to handout 12A. Handout 12A. And this is a quick review, and it's talking about the character Snapshot. So let me get that queued up for you here. Just go back through and read that to yourself. I'm not going to take up video time to do that, but go back and look at handout 12A, the focusing question task 2. Make sure you understand what you're supposed to be doing here. If you have any questions, maybe you're still not sure what I'm supposed to do with this, you can message me and I'll check that this morning or throughout your class time. Again, briefly, what you're going to be doing here is you're just having a little fun making up a character that Milo might run into from the school of abandon. It could be a teacher, a student, faculty member, and you're just going to kind of go back and just read that handout 12A. It will remind you of what your task is, okay? Now, take out your character snapshot planner on handout 12B and take a moment to review your ideas. So this is where you'll take out handout 12B. You should have a copy of that, or you can click on the file and pull out 12B. Just kind of look at that. That's a planner that's going to help you plan out your character. It says, what abandoned elementary school character do you plan to write about? How will you play with the meaning of abandon to reveal your character's attitude and beliefs about school and learning? So again, this is fun. Don't make this stressful. You're just having fun. Think of a fun character you might meet at abandoned elementary school, or that Milo might meet. Okay? How do I plan a character snapshot of a jester-like character? All right, so our goal is we want to show, not tell. Well, what does that mean? What does it mean to show, not tell? All right, so let's look. Writers make their characters come alive by making them act and speak, by showing what they are like, not telling. Remember that Norton Jester's characters in the Phantom Tollbooth speak and act as their name suggests. You will model your own character after this type of wordplay. So think of all the characters that we've met so far. We've met the humbug, the spelling bee. You kind of know what those characters are like, and you know how they act. And so you're making up a character that we would find from abandoned elementary school, and we want it to be very similar to those that you would find in this book. All right, back at handout 12B, it says, I will briefly review the directions for part 2, for part 1, for part 2. You will first finish part 1 of your planner to come up with your character's inner and outer qualities. When you finish, you may move on to part 2. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes here. Let me have just a second. Okay. So I want you to look over part 1, read that carefully to yourself. Again, this is on handout 12B. Take a second, zoom in, or you've got a copy there. Look at that on your own, 12B. So you can pause the video if you want to go back and read that and just follow through those steps. It's going to help you plan out what your character is like. All right, part 2. This is where you'll think about how you will show your characters uh, qualities through actions and words. Remember that your character's inner qualities, especially his or her attitude and beliefs about school and learning, should reflect the meaning of the word abandon. Now, I've mentioned it several times before, but think about what would a character be like if they went to a school called Abandoned Elementary School? I would think that probably not going to be very happy type people. Okay, so the writer of this piece wanted to portray Mayor McQuitter as someone who gave up easily and does not commit to finishing anything. This is one of her key traits. Instead of telling readers this, the writer shows readers this by using dialogue. Major McQuitter says, so many new project proposals. Let's start them all, I say. We'll never finish them anyways. Likewise, the reader wanted to convey, or the writer, sorry, wanted to convey that Mayor McQuitter is someone who doesn't take her job very seriously. Instead of telling readers, the writer shows this through her actions. She sleeps on the job. So, what the writer has done here to show us what the mayor is like, instead of telling us, we have some quotes and we have some dialogue where you can kind of tell by reading those dialogues what the mayor is like. She's not going to finish anything. Okay? Work independently for part 1 and part 2 of your planner. Generate ideas for your character's name, inner qualities, including traits and beliefs about school and learning, and outer qualities. Okay, so you're thinking about your character that goes to abandoned elementary school. How do they feel? What kind of person are they going to be? Think about, well, how can I show this uh, to the reader? Okay. Content framing question. What is the essential meaning of Faintly McBrae's story, Rhyme and Reason? Okay, so let's share out a little bit. Can a volunteer share the meaning of the idiom rhyme and reason? So, of course, we're not going to share out because I'm not there. So talk with your partner. Explain again, what does this idiom rhyme and reason mean? And then summarize the story of rhyme and reason. What does it mean? What does this story mean? Okay. Now, answer the following question. Given what you know about the phrase rhyme or reason and how Norton Juster plays with words, what is the larger significance or meanings of rhyme and reason's banishment in the story? Consider how their banishment impacted the kingdom literally and figuratively. Support your ideas with evidence from the story. All I want you to do here is just think about what happened as a result of rhyme and reason being banished. How did it impact the kingdom? All right, so think about that just a second. Your assignment tonight, a couple things I want you to do. It's going to be really easy. Is take just some time, and I want you to read chapter number 6, and I'll also put a link to the audio version of that if you want to listen to chapter number 6. You can do so if you're in the classroom, and you can get a copy of the book and read chapter number 6. I'd like for you to do that as well. Okay, you have a fluency sheet that's going to be available to you. I think that's 13B. You can look at that, and let me make sure my notes here. 13B is your fluency for this week. That's just reading a short passage a couple of times a day. Let someone read with you and kind of monitor how you're doing with that. So again, if you have any questions, guys, please give me send me a message. Let me know. I look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully this week. If you finish with this and you're not finished with your reading plus or already reading and reading all those different things that we have to do, please do that. Log into IXL, work on that as well. Hope you all have a great day. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you. Bye bye.